So you know how when relationships end, especially when it ends online, and one party jumps out to come and tell their side of the story, everybody immediately picks a side and starts trolling. Some people start making whole assumptions. Today I want to talk about why that's a very naive thing to do. If you do not have your PVC or if this is your first time voting, if you're above the ages of the 18 or 21, I'll confirm, please. The link, I'm going to put the link here. Please go and get your voters card. Go and register. I think it's closing on the 20th of June or 28th. I beg. I beg. If you've been in Nigeria and you've not been under a rock, you know that a lot of things have been happening recently. A lot of things. In short, since February, we have not rested. Everybody that has data has not rested. The Honest Bunch podcast or whatever that podcast is will be the reason why Nigeria will scatter very soon. Very soon. I don't want to talk about the recent one with the feminist lady. Let's even backtrack a little bit. Can you remember the OAP story where there was an opera where a man was crying?
She left me. She went abroad.
And people came. I can remember that time my friend sent it to me on Instagram. Can you see women are wicked? Blah blah blah. To be honest, I had not even seen the video initially. I was just seeing snippets of the video online where he was crying and it was like, Baba, Baba, I be 40 years old. I never get come. I say, if there's one thing I know, sometimes the first person to come out to scream and to cry, especially when they are exaggerating their experience, those people are not always the main people. From my experience in even this human interaction, a lot of people project. Sometimes their mentality is before you slander them, they'll come out to slander you. Now let's unpack what was said. He accused his wife of leaving him, going to the US, buying a new house without his permission, and then getting married to another man without his consent. And then people were like, "Oh my god, she just left." He was like, "Okay." I think there was even one part where he mentioned that she liked sex and he cannot come and kill himself. Just a lot of different moving parts, which I'm like, this wasn't even necessary. It was all fun and games till she came out to see her own side of the story. When she came out to see her own side of the story, everybody's mannerism changed. Everybody started seeing the real picture. But I wasn't even surprised. Even if she hadn't come out to say anything, you could see loops in that man's story. There were even times when they asked him certain questions that he deflected. He was moving around the questions. He wasn't really answering. He wasn't even taking accountability for anything at all. To everybody, he was the good person and she was the bad person. The main issue with that type of story is that whenever someone comes out to paint themselves as holier than thou and perfect in a given situation where a relationship or an agreement, scattered or goes bad, you need to examine the story properly. Because in as much as we want to always look good in front of everybody, and it's always okay to say, "Oh, I was saying that person was the evil person," sometimes your reaction or lack of, or your actions determine it's the reason why that partnership would end or not. So even when you hear stories and there's this lack of accountability from one person, you should actually know that this is a red flag. And I'm loving it for these women. They don't just come out to make statements and everything. Most of them come out with evidence. Remember when she came out to talk about her own point of view, she mentioned emotional neglect, she mentioned cheating, she mentioned laziness, she mentioned different things, the man's inability to want to do more. And we all saw that they were telling the same story, but just from different point of view. In her own story, you could still find some of the things that the man said, but now he wasn't the victim; he was the aggressor. I'm of the opinion, and please, I stand to be corrected. Don't come and hit me. And most women would not leave a good marriage, especially African women. A lot of women would not willingly just wake up one morning and walk out of their relationships. So if somebody, especially a woman, is willing to stand up and say, "Hey, I'm not doing it again," and say, you know what, to them the stigma, to hell with everything people would say, that woman must have reached her breaking point every single time that we've seen this kind of cases. It has always been the same story. Now, what does that tell you? The real reason why we always take sides, I think, is because we always hear the person's pain. And if you're telling a story about something that happened, you would not reveal your own parts where you maybe fell short. You always want to play the victim, especially in Nigeria where a lot of people like drama. If you say men today or
Women are.
say everybody start running, they don't want to hear. Oh, she's a witch. She's a prostitute. Oh yeah, it doesn't even make sense. So whenever we hear stories, we always hear the person's pain, and that was so funny because he was crying. So when he was crying, people were like, oh my God, this one was really having a bad person. But no, of course, it's good for people to show emotions. But because someone is crying does not mean the person is automatically a saint. You can cry and still be the aggressor. There's this thing we call white woman tears, and how those people's tears have killed people in the past. If you know what I mean by white woman tears, you know where a white woman would cry and act like she's the victim, whereas she's the aggressor. And it has in the past where racism was a very big thing in America, a lot of people had lost their lives and their freedom because of some people's fake tears. So, Abby babies, most times when this person has come out to share their own point of view first, tarnish the other person's image, we just hear the person's pain because that's the loudest pain that we're hearing at that point. And when the actual person comes out to share their own side of the story, we don't want to go back and revise our own opinion. And most times that's not fair. So in conclusion, I've come to realize that marriages, relationships, friendships, even agreements within two parties or people in business, it doesn't just end in one day. Most times it's a million different things: emotional neglect, manipulation, abuse, whether it be cheating, whether it be financial abuse, passive aggressiveness, resentment, everything just accumulates. I am of the opinion that whenever you're in a relationship, have times for checking. Not be like Choma checking. Yes, check in. Check in. Ask your partner, how am I serving you? How am I loving you? Weekly check-in. Don't wait for a month because sometimes you have forgotten and then when you now remember, you have to wait for the other month again. Weekly check-in. Two of you sit down. How far? How will you do? Do you still love me? What's going on? Is someone toasting you? Are you toasting somebody? How can I love you better? Are there any expectations of me or from me that you desire and I'm not holding my end of the bargain? How can we have fun more? Let's just talk. Because if you look at why a lot of people like divorce or do things, it's because of they've been piling different things up. It's just crazy. So whenever it comes up, let's just fix it. Anyways, see you in my next video.